Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
brilliant.
Welcome to our presentation on ACCA and its career prospect in Ireland. And I have with me Mr. Agnel Alexander, who is one of my friends and my ex-colleagues from Bank of Ireland. He's a qualified ACCA and working as a financial control manager in Bank of Ireland. So hopefully this session will provide you a lot of information about ACCA and its prospect in Ireland. So I hand it over to you, Agnel. So if you could start with providing some, background of your education, of your professional qualification, and also your career journey. So I hand it over to you, Agnel. Thank you.
Thanks, Arif. So my qualification prior to the journey of ACCA was I held a master's in commerce, or the equivalent qualification here would be an MSc in accounting. So I held a master's in commerce, specializing in accounting and business from the University of Mumbai. And my prior experience was back in India. I was a manager in finance and accounts in a listed company called Sakuma Exports, which mainly dealt with food and commodities trading. And later I moved on to a coal trading company and worked there for about 2 years. So before coming to Ireland, I had a full-time accounting experience back in India for about 5 years. So I moved to Ireland in May of 2018, and I moved here as a dependent of critical skills work permit holder, as in my wife was working in Ireland already, so I came in here as her dependent spouse. At the time, the rule was such that a dependent could apply for jobs in Ireland, but they would need to get a work permit issued from. They need to get a work permit issued. Now, although the application process didn't have any fees, the processing times were 12 weeks. So at the time, it was really challenging for dependents to get jobs in Ireland, because not only you have to convince your prospective employer to, actually give you a job, but also wait after their long interview process for 12 weeks for your work permit to arrive, so then you can start working. Thankfully, the Irish government got away with that whole tedious procedure in March 2019. So now you don't have to wait for a separate work permit, and you don't have to wait for 12 weeks. So a dependent is given a stamp 1G, and you can just, if you convert the interview, you can straight away start working. So when I came to Ireland, I knew that, to start in a new country in any sector, you have to start from the bottom, because you need to learn the tricks of the trade, as they say. There's obviously a slight shift in work culture and how things are approached here. So my strategy at the time, and this might not fit everyone, but my strategy at the time was to apply to entry-level roles, although I had a good bit of experience back in India. So I did two things at once. One is I enrolled for ACCA, and I started my job hunt process at the same time. Now, why did I choose ACCA? So it was really a decision to be made between ACA and ACCA. For those of you who don't know, ACA so Arif is qualified under the ACA professional body, and I am an ACCA. So why did I choose ACCA at the time was basically in ACCA, you have an option to take exams every quarter. So that was kind of a deal maker for me, because that means potentially, even if I sit one exam per session, I can get through 4 exams in a year. And that's less pressure compared to any other options that I had at the time. So it was very flexible as well. And as I did more research, and I encourage everyone to do more self-research on whatever course you choose, because it gives you a better idea of what you're getting into. As I did more research, I realized that it's more flexible. It works to my needs, so I just went for ACCA there. Also, when you're applying for a course, you're eligible for a lot of exemptions depending on your educational qualifications. So, as I said, because I held a master's in accounting already, I was eligible for a few exemptions. So I didn't have to give all of the exams together. So the way the ACCA course is structured in 3 stages essentially. So there's a foundation level that has 3 papers. This is for those people who are from a completely different field than finance and are starting straight out of high school, for example. So it's more of like an introductory course to enter ACCA. So there would be 3 exams there. For more details, you can refer to the ACCA website. The actual journey starts at the applied skills stage, which is the 2nd stage. So there you have 6 exams that you need to clear before you move further. And the 6 exams are corporate and business law, performance management, which is more like management accounting and costing. Then you have taxation. Again, in taxation for ACCA in Ireland, you have an option to choose whether you want to do UK tax or Irish tax. Then you have financial reporting, auditing and assurance, and financial management. So those are the 6 exams you need to give at the applied skill stage. In my case, I had 3 exemptions at this stage, so I just had to give 3 more. My strategy was, try to give 2 exams each session. So I think giving 1 exam each session at this stage would be, it's very convenient to give 1 exam at this stage, but in my opinion, at least in the way my head works, is if I push myself a bit, I tend to come out stronger. So taking more than 1 exam and adding a bit of challenge for each session was the way that worked for me. So I could do my best when I had a challenge in front of me. So there were 3 exams that I needed to do here, which was performance management, financial management, and financial reporting. So after the applied skills stage, which is the 2nd stage, after you're done with the 6 examinations here, you move on to the strategic professional stage. Now, here is where it gets really interesting, and there are 6 potential examinations, and you have to clear 4 of them to be a qualified accountant. So they are essentially advanced performance management, advanced taxation, strategic business reporting, strategic business leader, advanced auditing and assurance, and advanced financial management. So there are 2 mandatory exams here, which is strategic business reporting and strategic business leader. And you have to clear these 2 exams. It's not a choice. So after clearing these 2 exams, you're left with 4 exams, and you need to choose 2 out of them. So it could be 2 out of advanced performance management, advanced taxation, advanced auditing and assurance, and advanced financial management. So you can choose 2 out of those. Now, you also have to consider one thing here, which is if you want to get into an accountancy or taxation practice, or you want to be an auditor, you have to take up auditing or taxation, depending on which way you want your career to go. But if you're going into a purely finance function, then you can do away with audit and tax. So we have questions coming in, so I'll just...
Yeah, very good question. Like, what's the time limit? Is there any? And also, what are the cost implications? Like, how much is the fee of each subject? And
of course, yeah. So the time limit, I think. So when you're applying for the visa, I think you get a visa for 4 years, and It's a maximum of 8 years by which you need to get your qualification complete. But I'm not sure if there is a certain time limit for each specific examination, but I can come back to you guys on that. But I know that there is a time limit overall to complete the whole qualification. That goes with any professional body, but it is lenient. It is not very, very strict. You are given some room for reattempts, and it's majority of the people do go for a couple of attempts for one or two odd papers. You might have a troublesome paper that is kind of difficult for you. So the time limit is not some.
Yes, yeah. I would like to interrupt. I was speaking to one of the ACCA candidates a few days earlier, and what happened with him that he is on a strategic level, but he is not being able to clear one of his subjects. Okay, he had appeared in 2 sessions or 2 settings, but he couldn't clear. So ultimately, one of his subjects, which he had done from the applied level, they have given him a message that you have to clear the strategic subject within the 3rd attempt. Otherwise, you have to redo all the subjects. So there is a certain timeline within which the candidate has to pass his exams. But again, I absolutely agree with you that it is not very strict. They'll at least allow you 3 or 4 attempts for that.
So as Arif said, definitely there is a limit. It's not like a free run at it. You can't just keep giving examinations. But at the same time, you have to realize that if you are taking up a professional course, you're going in with some intent. You could have gone with a non-professional course in accounting, but you chose a professional course. So there it is. The hardest step is to choose this path. Okay, we have a question here. I have a colleague in the UK who kept taking one exam for several years until he passed to qualify as an accountant. Okay, yeah, well, good luck to him. There are many people who, keep going at it, and don't give up. That should be the attitude in life in general. So yes, thanks Arif for clarifying, that there are limits even with individual exams, but that's not that shouldn't be your intention when you approach an exam. When you approach an exam, your intention should be to give your best. And in the strategic professional level, you have 6 exams, out of which you have to pass 4 exams to be qualified, 2 of which are mandatory: strategic business reporting and strategic business leader. Now, there are some parallels between applied skills and strategic professional, and the timing of giving these exams sometimes can be very important. So they often say that, if you're going to give advanced performance management, do it close to performance management in the applied skills level, which is the stage 2. And same goes with advanced auditing and assurance. You can give that soon after auditing and assurance or financial reporting, because those 2 exams have a lot in similar and bounce off each other. And for advanced financial management, it has a lot of parallels with financial management exam in the applied skills level. So it only makes sense to do these in quick succession. And same goes with SBR, which is strategic business reporting. That is the same as that is an advanced level for financial reporting. So you can time your exams in a way that helps you and reduces the amount of effort you need to put in. Otherwise, if there's a huge gap between, let's say, performance management and the applied skills level and advanced performance management at the strategic level, you're essentially relearning stuff. If a long period of time has elapsed since your last exam, you'd be trying to relearn what you've done the previous time, so you can start at the advanced level. As far as the exam strategy goes, there are multiple ways to approach it. Each person is different, wear the shoe that fits you, So in my case, what I used to do is, like I said before, we have 4 exam sessions every calendar year. So that means you can at least give if you give at least one exam per session, you're done with 4 in a year. But I would say, maybe try to do two exams in each session, and I'll tell you why. It kind of gives you 2 things to study. First of all, it's a platter of 2 different things. So if you're too much into one subject and you're sick of it, you can divert your attention to the other one and come back again. Plus, it's managing risks well. So if you're just going to give one exam in one quarter, and let's just say you don't clear, unfortunately, that's 3 months gone, But if you try to give 2 exams, you're pushed to a corner, you try to put in more effort. And if you try to give 2 exams and you don't clear one, at least you got one in that session. So it's not like you at least made some use of those 3 months. Financially, it would be a heavier burden. So I think at the applied skills level, the exam fee is somewhere around 110 to 120 sterling GBP. And at the strategic professional level, it's 155 pounds. At least that's what it was when I was doing it. And these fees also, they tend to rise marginally over a period of time. So, they're not cheap exams. They are expensive. But as a relief, when you're doing ACCA and you join as a trainee accountant, let's say in a practice or in a big institution, most of them cover your exam fees and maybe coaching fees, depending on how the training accountant package program is packaged. But I'm sure most of them, almost 100% of them, do cover your exam fees. So, and many of them definitely cover the first attempt to your exam. That means, let's say if you didn't clear a certain exam in the first attempt, you might have to pay for the next attempt. But the first attempt would definitely be covered by your employer. So that's also something to consider. So as you see, when you try to apply for a trainee accountant role, the pay might not be a lot, but you get some add-on benefits. One, you get a mentor, right there, who could be your boss or your manager, and you can bounce off ideas with them. Secondly, you have financial aid in terms of exam fees, or coaching. So there are these add-ons that you need to consider when you apply for a trainee accountant role. My advice would be to do your own research, before you take a step, because it's a professional qualification, and there are lots of specializations and branches in the finance world. And through ACCA, there are a lot of journeys that you can take. So you have to see what suits you, and what you relate to. So if you are a tax person, it goes without saying that you have to take up tax. At the strategic professional level. If you are interested in audit, you have to take up audit. But at the same time, if your interests are otherwise and you're not too keen on tax or audit, you can drop both of them. So you have to, that's something that you can't strategically decide on. That's something that has to make sense to you as a person, and each person would be different. So you can't just take up tax because someone's told you to take up tax. It depends on whether you want to do it or no, and be it tax, audit, performance management, or financial management. You have to decide which two suit you best. And when it comes to approaching these exams, usually you get about 7 to 10 days leave for each exam on your first attempt. That's the norm, at least in Ireland, as I have observed. So you can't really rely on the study leaves before the exams to complete your studies. So I would say, taking out an hour and a half or 2 hours each day, that could be before work or after work, works wonders. Always having a book with you to summarize the points that you have and summarize each chapter as you go along into a short, concise text. That helps so that you can go back to it when your exams are closed. You have to decide as to what exactly you want from the qualification, because so in my case, I did the 4 subjects that I chose at the strategic professional level were obviously the 2 mandatory ones, which is strategic business reporting and business leader. And I did advanced performance management and advanced financial management, because I was at the time I didn't think I would be going into the field of taxation or audit. So it made more sense to me that I pick up financial management and performance management. And those were also my strengths. I knew those because in the applied skills stage, I saw that I kind of excelled in those 2 examinations. So it only made sense for me to pick those up. But I think it's APM that has a notoriously low passing percentage. So you have to consider all of those things before you make a decision on what you need to do.
Yeah, I would like to add something, Agnel, if you don't mind. So
yeah, sure.
So first of all, it's a very good insight about those subjects and the choice. Just one thing I would like to add, perhaps 2 things. Number 1 is training. You mentioned about the training firms, and I would like to convey that to everyone who is in the session, who is interested to do an ACCA, that if you get a training contract from one of the training firms, and at least from one of the professional training firms, that will be the best decision which you'll make in your life, because you don't have to worry about paying the fees, or you don't have to worry about the experience, you don't have to worry about anything. They will just expect you to do the work, auditing or taxation, and they will look after everything. They have a very good mentoring culture there. They will mentor you, they will coach you, they will organize those professional educational sessions with you. And as I said, that they will ultimately pay the fee on your behalf. So there is nothing, there's no way it can be better than that. So there is an option to do it through a flexible route, which Agnel did. But at the same time, watch out for those opportunities in the professional accounting firms, which will make it a lot more easier for you. Subject choice, I absolutely agree with Agnel that I myself also did APM. Agnel, it will make you surprised. I was an auditor in Deloitte, but I thought I have done a lot of audit. I have done enough audit. I don't want to, do the audit exam, and I didn't like tax. So I chose APM because, I think I also like to think strategically, and I have some consultant mind in me, and I have a small startup which I thought of starting at that stage of time, and that's why I enrolled myself into APM, Advanced Performance Management, and that subject gave me a lot of exposure to the business strategies, business decisions, and and it gave me a lot of insights about Ireland as a business destination. That we usually think that Ireland, a lot of companies come to Ireland just because of tax. Right? But it's not the case, even the weather, which we blame, the Irish weather. This is one of the reasons why people come to Ireland. I tell you why. Because there are a lot of data centers, right? So to maintain those equipments and those, machines, they need a certain, climate or temperature. So, if it's in too hot, if it's in a country where it's too hot, it's also problematic. And when it becomes freezing, like, Norway, Sweden, or, nowadays we can see in US that the temperature is going down to, minus 15 or 20. That's also difficult. But in Ireland, we always see, we don't see that much of extreme weather, isn't it? Like it's going down minus sometimes, but it's not persistent. So that's a lot of data centers coming to Ireland, R&D tax credit, and a lot of things. Those makes it very attractive. Young population, technological, environment, those sort of things make Ireland as a very attractive business destination. So those are the things I got to learn by doing APM course. So yeah, absolutely. Subject of choice is a very, very important thing. And Agnel, while we are on that topic, I would like to request one thing. If you could just, very briefly outline the learning outcomes of each subject, so that, whoever, say for example, Ferdowsi, she's not enrolled in ACCA, but she is interested to do so. So if you could just very briefly explain that what each subject, will teach her, and what will be the learning outcomes for her from those subjects.
Sure. Like I said, I started at stage 2 in the ACCA journey. So that's the applied skills stage. And in it too, I had exemptions for 3 of the exams. So I only gave 3 at that stage. You have 6 exams in all, and I only gave 3, which were performance management, financial management, and financial reporting. So, performance management essentially is management accounting and costing clubbed into one, and operational reporting as well. So it kind of talks on various performance parameters for an organization and how those are reported. Financial management would talk more about how finances of an entity is managed. How do you raise capital, and how do you manage the cost of capital, and what are the effective ways of investments? So that's what financial management entails. And the third one that I did was financial reporting. Financial reporting is your bread and butter for an accountant. It deals with accounting standards and how the financial statements are reported at year end. So the learnings from these were for performance management. Essentially, it was one for performance management is calculations heavy, and prima facie, on the top of it, it looks like, okay, I can do this, I can do that, but you need to be very strategically aware of, or you need to kind of visualize in what way are you going to answer a certain question and time it right, because you can't get, and you have to find the sweet spot, as in the detail, the level of detail that you're going to give for each question. So you might know a certain question in and out, and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to just kill it with this question. And you might just go overboard with too much detail that's not asked for. In it, what you do is you put your exam timings off, and you kind of struggle to complete a certain paper. So the idea is not to get carried away, and it's always better. And this strategy works throughout at whatever stage you are in your professional studies. It works throughout, which is it's better to give a fair attempt at all the questions than give a really good attempt for some of the questions within a paper, which means make it your topmost priority to complete the examination. Because, if you don't attempt, let's say 30 marks out of 100 for any exam, that's 30 marks gone. There's nothing for the examiner to give away. But at the same time, if you at least try to make it to 100, even if you kind of compromise on the level of detail you could have given on a certain question, but you kind of attempt 100, you just increase your chances to clear an examination. Many people get stuck here, Obviously I've sat a lot of examinations, and I've noticed people not completing a lot of these examinations, and that I don't know if there's a research behind this, but if you don't complete your exam, then how are you going to get score marks? Like if you attempt 60 or 70 out of 100, you're essentially saying that I need to score 50 out of 60 that I've attempted. That's you're just adding more trouble to yourself. So try and make it to 100. Try your level best to attempt the whole paper. And the second thing I would say is, if you finish your exam early, don't leave the exam hall. That's just that would be a really stupid decision. Even if you have a really bad exam and you think that, oh, I'm not going to make it, take it from a qualified accountant and a person who has spoken to a lot of ex-students. you might make it. You would be in for a surprise. We are always very self-critical of ourselves, and we kind of give up mid-exam. Oh, this is not going too well. Don't do that. Make the best use of your 3 hours in the exam. So this goes for all the exams. And if you think you've finished early, go back to all the questions, see if you can add something, see if you can change something, see if you can bring the examiner's attention to a crucial point that you've called out within an examination. So after doing PM, which is performance management, financial management, and financial reporting, I went on to the strategic professional exams. So the first thing I did was I got the 2 mandatory exams out of the way because I knew there was no way around it. I have to give those. So strategic business reporting was a no-brainer because I'd done financial reporting before that. So soon after my financial reporting paper, my next session was strategic business reporting. Now, here again, at the advanced or strategic professional level, they're looking for your they're looking for your skills of reading between the lines, and spotting the minutest of things. So it's more about quality over quantity. So always remember, it's better to make a few good points than many irrelevant ones. So that was my strategy for strategic business reporting. And since I did it soon after financial reporting, it seemed like a continuation for me, so it's just like taking it to the next level. And so that was my strategy, take strategic business reporting and strategic business leader first. Okay, so we have a question here. If there is no exemption, can you suggest how a beginner should start? So if there are no exemptions, you would have to start at the foundation level. But that's a very small subset is what I think. I think 90% of the people would start at an applied skills level. So in that case, what I would suggest is, start with corporate and business law, because corporate and business law has no parallel exam at the strategic professional level. So you might want to take that exam first, and get it out of the way. And then you can time the remaining exams depending on, you have to think ahead. So you have to choose the flow of the next exams depending on how you're going to approach the strategic professional level and what exams are you going to give at that level. So you can time your exams depending on that. And many people get through the applied skills level and then try and make a decision on which 4 exams are they going to give at a strategic professional level. I think that's wrong. I think that decision has to be made at the applied skills level, which kind of, it calibrates your mind to get serious at this level itself and look at these subjects with an intention that you are going to use the knowledge that you acquire here at the strategic professional level. So the order is not as important, but I would suggest that corporate and business law should be attempted first, because there's no direct parallel to corporate and business law at the strategic professional level. But all the other exams, be it PM or taxation or financial reporting, auditing and assurance, and financial management, all 5 of them have a certain parallel at the strategic professional level. So time it depending on what exam are you going to give first at the strategic professional level. And yes, you have to think ahead. You need to know what journey are you going to take and what path are you going to choose, and at the strategic professional level, as I said, the 4 exams I did was SBR, SBL, APM, and AFM. So at SBL is a case study heavy examination. You have 4 case studies or 3, I'm not sure. It's been a long time. Apologies for that. But when it comes to case study heavy examinations, it's purely based on case studies. You would have 3 case studies and then questions on it. So you have to ensure that one, your reading speed is really fast, and it doesn't just mean you can read something fast. You can read and understand it at the same time. So what worked for me is, you're offered, be it a paper examination or an online examination, they give you a certain rough paper to take notes on, do workings on. So as you go through a certain case study, make sure that you take the important points down for the case study and summarize the case study in a small section. There are online tools as well. You can highlight text and underline text, and within the question. So that's helpful too. So I would strongly recommend using that for SBL. Highlight the text that you think is important. Otherwise, you would be stuck just rereading the whole case study and looking for answers. So the idea is to get the important points right at the beginning, understand what the case study is about, and then go for the questions. There is another hack, and it has worked for many, but I don't go for it. What a lot of people do is they go for the questions first, as in they read the questions first, and then they go and read the case study with an intent that they know what they're looking for. It works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for me, but these are the two main strategies. Either ways, you have to spot the important points within a case study. You can't afford to reread the whole case study again and again. It's just a waste of time, and people struggle completing the SBL examinations because of this, or they just have a really bad attempt at the last question because they are just short on time. So I would say, you need to be really quick with your reading, and you can practice this actually by reading books, any book that you like, really. It would give you a break from studies, and at the same time, it could help you in, increasing your reading speed. So, an SBL is about reading more than anything else. Obviously, you would prepare and, you would study for it, but it comes down to your reading speed and how quick you understand things and how quick you spot what's important. So timing is key in SBL. The next one I did was APM, which is Advanced Performance Management. Again, similar to performance management at the applied skills level, a lot of calculations, a lot of tables, a lot of numbers. So again, you have to be sure of what question is asked and just answer to it and not go into too much detail. So find the sweet spot, and with APM, make sure that you attempt everything. So if it's given a choice, for every exam, you would have a few questions that you know everything about, and you would have a few questions that you don't know much about. But, I would say attempt all of them, and, try to complete each exam, because it increases your chances of clearing the exams by a lot. It makes no sense not attempting a certain question, because that just takes those marks off the table. No one can assess anything on it. You can't get any marks on those. So make sure you complete your exam, especially with APM. AFM, which is Advanced Financial Management, like APM, follows on from financial management in the applied skills level. So it's just that, the stakes are higher. So you need to be well versed with, what cost of capital is, how do you manage finances, what's derivatives, there is a lot of theory in financial management as well. So you need to read up on that too. Now, again, completing an exam is important, but I don't think a lot of people struggle with financial management. But again, that doesn't have to be a hard and fast rule. Maybe you might find APM easier to complete than AFM. So I often stress on completing an exam. That would only come from how you prepare for the exam. So before you start studying any exam, a teacher once told me it's with professional qualifications, it's more important to know what you don't need to study than knowing what you need to study. So you need to, before approaching any exam, you need to look at past papers, trends, what's being asked, how often has a certain chapter been questioned or assessed in an examination. And you would notice certain trends, you'd notice things here and there. That, okay, I can kind of weight how much I can put certain importance to a certain number of topics within this examination, and kind of not stress as much on a certain topic in a certain exam. But it's very important that you know a little about everything than knowing everything about very little. So make sure that you at least have an idea, a broad idea about everything, all the chapters, be it financial reporting or performance management. Just make sure that you know at least a little about everything, so that when any chapter is assessed in an examination, you can at least give a fair attempt at it, instead of just finding yourself in a position where you have no idea what's going on in a certain question. Try to avoid that. So I would say read everything. If you're struggling with something a lot, try and get help. Try and ask teachers for help. But at the same time, time each chapter, time your studies, and be very stingy with time, because if something's taking too much time, you have to make a decision of, okay, so I'm just going to spend this much time on this. If I get it, it's okay. If I don't get it, I might revisit it later, but I have to move on to the next chapter. I think we have a question there. So
yes, Agnel, I think it's from the college's point of view, what he's asked here, that, it's a very newly established college. So, and because you have done ACCA, what do you see from the competition perspective, like as a new college, if they want to, get more students, to attract more students, what strategies they will need to take, or, what are the challenges that they might face in the future?
So obviously we have a lot of established learning providers in Ireland, but I think it's still underrepresented. As in, we need more schools. We need more institutes to come up, so that it caters to the high influx of new students coming in to pursue accountancy in Ireland. This obviously flows through from the fact that since Brexit, we've seen a lot of global companies move their headquarters or trying to move their operations to Ireland, which in turn has increased a lot of accountancy and finance jobs in Ireland. And this has a follow down a result of having more students take up professional qualifications. So we definitely need more learning providers, and to get an edge over the competition, I would just say to get an edge over the competition, I would just say it would be better to have a hybrid model that is parallel to the current work situation across the globe. So you could have face-to-face lectures, at the same time you could have online access to it. And I think all sessions should be pre-recorded. And if we have tutors who are available at specified times throughout the week, so that the students can have a one-on-one with the teachers and tutors, and clarify their doubts and stuff. So that would be really helpful. And the best thing to do is if we could have guest speakers, from ACCA who can guide students with examinations. That kind of gives an edge. And the most important thing is knowledge, as in how to go about the course. So as you get into a professional qualification, there are a lot of dates you have to remember. So with ACCA especially, because you have 4 sessions in a year, that's 4 examination dates. That's 4 enrollment dates, and ACCA has 3 enrollment dates. So there's an early enrollment, which is the cheapest way to get in. There's a standard enrollment, which is the standard rate of getting into an examination, and there's a late enrollment fee. That is, when you miss the standard date, you have to pay a premium, which is almost twice the standard rate to get into an examination. So as students take up ACCA, and a lot of them would be training as well or working as well at the same time, it kind of gets difficult to keep track of dates, exam enrollment dates, exam dates, result dates, and with 4 sessions in the year, that's multiplied 4 times. So you also would like your learning providers to give guidance to students about all of these dates, and give a proper schedule of how they could plan their exams and how they could plan things, and guide them that, guys, you need to enroll for this exam by this time, and by this date. So that's something I used to struggle with because I was working as well, and there were just too many dates to keep track on. So students would rely a lot on their learning providers to kind of give them dates. So we could, and having an active social media group.
Perfect. I think there was a question following on this. Is there a particular focus we might take to maximize student input? I think you've covered most of it.
Yeah, I read that question while I was talking, so I kind of tried to add on to the best of my knowledge. Anyway, again, I'm not the expert on that. I'm sure the folks at Prudence are far more qualified than me, but I just gave a feedback from an ex-student's perspective. What I would have liked to see. There are a lot of things, really. So just guide students as much as possible, give them guidance with the institute, with the exams, and give them options, and give them pathways that they could take, and tell them that these are the various strategies. Choose which one you like. The more I think, when you're a student, your greatest worry is, I don't know so much about so many things, and that's the most important thing when you're studying for any professional qualification. It's like, I'm not aware about so many things. So if someone comes in and swoops in and kind of helps students at that stage, and gives them the knowledge about the different things that students might miss because they are too focused on studies. So if the learning provider can do that, that would be, the greatest add-on benefit to any student.
Yeah, and being a professional, accountant or chartered accountant, whatever you said really makes sense. And if I were you, like speaking in the same event, I would definitely mirror the same. And the insights that you've provided is amazing. The timing that you said, the subject choice, subject selection, and how they should strategically select, both subject for one sitting. It was amazing, Agnel. So I'd really like to thank you for that. So we have talked a lot about, the course material, content, the strategies. Now we don't have much time left. If you could shed some light on the career prospects of ACCA in Ireland, like how do you feel the difference, when you are not a professional accountant and when you become a qualified accountant, how you saw the difference and how you see the difference overall in the industry? If you could shed some light on it. Thank you, Agnel.
So I'll just summarize that in a very short statement. So when I was starting to look for jobs, I had just enrolled for ACCA, so I hadn't given any examinations or whatsoever. I kept giving interviews, and I was finding it really hard to find any kind of job. So I was applying for everything, be it assistant accountant, trainee accountant, entry-level accountant, whatever, and I was finding it really difficult to get a call back. Forget, converting an interview. I was finding it very difficult to get to that stage. But then, for all those who would find themselves in that position, I would say just keep going at it. Apply to 20, 50 jobs a day, and after a few weeks or months, you have to hear back. Just don't give up. And also, jobs in the finance sector are seasonal. I know it's a wrong terminology to use, but you would notice that towards the beginning of the year, end of Jan, beginning of February, you would see a lot of job postings, especially in the finance sector, and same goes between soon after half year, somewhere around September. Um, so when you start your ACCA qualification, obviously getting jobs is difficult, but as in you have to try hard, and the process is more outbound. Finding a job is outbound, as in you have to go out and find the perfect fit for you, and try hard and get a job interview and try to convert it. But then later, as I qualified, the process became more inbound, as in people start to come in and provide you with certain opportunities that have become available, and they try to headhunt you. So it becomes more inbound, and the ball is now in your court when you're qualified. You are spoiled for choices. Thankfully, in Ireland, we are in a really good stage now. From an industry perspective, there are a lot of jobs out there, so it's a really good time to start your journey with ACCA and try hard to qualify at the earliest, so you can reap the benefits of the economic situation. And it would do you a world of good, even if you're part qualified. Even if you get a few exams in, you would see job offers come to you. You would see the difference, and you would see it really soon, because you have 4 sessions in a year. You would clear a few of them within a year, so you would see the difference yourself. It's amazing what this qualification does for your career.
So there is a question. Perhaps there are 2 questions. First one is from Bruce. Presumably, the majority of the people taking the course would be working. So the greater the flexibility in the course offerings will be important, evenings or weekends, etc. Agnel, if you could answer that question, and then we'll take the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a question to you, like whether if the offer.
Yeah. I'm just reading it. Sorry about that. Yeah. So majority, I think all of the people, almost all of the people who would be taking the course would either be, part-time or full-time working, preferably in finance or accounting. And so obviously greater flexibility would do wonders. So having an option to choose between evenings or weekends definitely adds value, because some people would rather go for evening sessions, and soon after work, and have the weekends to themselves, maybe to study or have some personal time as well. But whereas the others, if they are in a high intensity role, they might have to do overtime or stuff like that, and they just don't have consistent working hours. They might choose weekends so that they don't have any interruptions in their sessions, as in if they work overtimes quite frequently, they might miss on a few sessions, so they would rather prefer not disturbing that and having the sessions on the weekends. So yes, the answer to that is having ACCA in itself as a qualification is flexible. So it goes without saying that learning providers have to be flexible as well, because students in ACCA, they make the most out of the situation when, they can be flexible. They can, if I miss a session here, do I have access to a pre-recorded session so that I can catch up on it? Do I have a pathway where I could go back to the instructor or the tutor on any doubts that I have? So these things would just add value. Okay, and then we have a question on job opportunities between ACCA and certified accounting technician and ACCA qualifications leading to chartered certified accountant. So I just have to say that, so certified accounting technician, and for a certified accounting technician, the job market would be a subset of what the job market would be if you are a chartered certified accountant. Because a chartered certified accountant can apply for jobs that are posted for certified accounting technicians, but not the other way around. So, it's your opportunities easily double once you're a chartered certified accountant, and it's easier to get a job in the job market.
Yeah. I'd like to add something for this,
Yeah.
CAT. That's mainly for the SME businesses, the businesses that needs day-to-day, help with their tax, their accounting, those sort of things. And whereas, ACCA and ACA, that covers wide array of, the multinationals and other institutions. As Agnel mentioned, that strategic business leadership, strategic financial reporting. So for those SME businesses, there is a certain limit of turnover, revenue turnover, under which they don't have to audit their businesses. So that's why the limits are, is slightly limited for CAT, professionals, whereas ACC and ACA, they have to cover a wide range of, areas, subjects, and, they can take on the jobs and other, careers in those multinationals where they have to, report the financial numbers through IFRS, through US GAAP, those sort of, way. So Agnel, over to you now.
Yeah, and I'm mindful of time. I would just like to add a final point, if I could. You have to understand that ACCA as a professional body has a global presence, a truly global presence. So, ACCA can work in Canada, can work in Australia. They have a presence in 179 countries. Now, obviously, if you are a tax professional, then you would be you would have had your expertise in a certain country tax. But then again, you can obviously adapt, and once you relocate yourself, you can just take up a tax examination with a certain country and, update your qualifications. So it's a truly global qualification. So it just does not just open doors to Ireland, but UK, Australia, Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, 179 countries, so that does count for something. It's a truly global institution.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And I'm a chartered accountant like ACA, but I absolutely agree with Agnel's point that for ACCA, it's standardized. Like, you can carry your qualification to any countries in the world, like that 179 countries. Whereas for ACA, we have to go to those countries and we have to at least provide, or to appear in those local tax and law exams, which is, sometimes a bit tricky. So yeah, ACCA is truly a global examination. And I would like to thank you, Agnel, for your time. And to be honest with you, I really learned a lot from you in terms of ACCA. I really didn't have that much of knowledge about ACCA. So if I can learn from you, I believe the people, being a professional accountant, I believe the people who are willing to pursue a ACCA career, they have learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for your time. And, we can allow another 5 minutes if any of our audience have any question. I know Bruce and some other people are typing, but, I leave the floor open to them now. Like, if they want to ask you a question directly, they can ask you now.
Thanks, Arif. You're too kind. And thanks, Bruce. Those were some really amazing questions. It kind of gave me an opportunity to speak on some things that I would have totally missed. So thanks for that.
It was really a nice session, Agnel. So I really enjoyed it. I can tell you from my perspective, and it was very insightful. Thank you so much, Bruce, for attending, and for your lovely questions. As Agnel said, those are really insightful. Like we might have skipped those topics if you didn't ask us those questions. So it was amazing, and the way you have put your questions, and we also learned a lot. While you brought those issues into the table.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, Arif.
Yeah, thank you so much, Agnel. Have a nice weekend, and thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice weekend and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Hopefully, we'll meet again in next coming webinar. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.